How's it going, guys? Well, welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome to the official Brandon Sanderson site and, as you've probably read in the title, the official Order of Knights Radiant quiz. Now, this is really exciting because I've actually covered a couple of these quizzes on this channel before. It's been a long time, but as you can see, this is the official Brandon Sanderson website. So he and the rest of his team have been the ones who put all of this together. So this is pretty much as close as you're going to get unless you actually go meet Brandon and he somehow gets an inkling of your personality to determine which order radiant, Knight Order Radiant you would be most fitting to accept the bond of. Now again, remember, of course, not everyone can accept a radiant bond. Well, maybe no. Maybe in the future all humans would qualify. But it seems like usually there are people who need to have special conditions, i.e. usually some type of cracks in the spirit web, as Brandon puts it, whether a traumatic event or simply a kind of shattered personality, rather either just kind of confronting like the realities of the world versus their personal viewpoint, or just the general wear and tear on the person's soul that happens over time, especially as they become more aware of things like the precarious state of their existence, the troubles of the people around them, and other such things that can rattle people and kind of bring them an opportunity to form a connection with a spren. If you haven't read Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and the upcoming Rythems of War coming out later this year, feel free to take this quiz, but it really won't make much sense to you. I would say you probably would want to get to the point of the second book in the series to really kind of grasp it, because that's where Words of Radiance is where they start exploring like all the different names and kind of showing you some examples of various radiant types. Oathbringer, we saw even more of them, and I'm sure in the next two books we're going to see effectively good examples of every one of the 10 different types of Radiant. Also, I want to point out before we get too deep into this, that if you are here, there's a good chance you are aware that I have done some Cosmere content on my channel, namely the Letters from the Cosmere. That series is not dead, as it might appear on the channel, but I have moved it. I'm going to put a link here in the corner, and I'm also going to put a link in the description and probably at the end of this to videos and or just the channel, because I've started a second YouTube channel specifically for Cosmere content and Letters from the Cosmere. This being because the majority of my content on this channel is not Brandon Sanderson themed, it's mostly related to other types of stories. And I like including Cosmere in this area, but I can understand it'd be frustrating if you subscribe here for Cosmere and you don't get it. So I highly advise that you go to the Letters from the Cosmere YouTube channel. It's the official one. If you go there, you'll be seeing I've been re-uploading all of the Letters from the Cosmere, trimming them down so you just get the letters. You can slap it on a playlist. You can just play through them all and listen to my thoughts. There's also a brand new one that came out only a few weeks ago, and there should be more to come in the future. So I hope you check that out. And, if this tickles your fancy, thank you so much. But let's jump right back into it. I don't want to dilly-dally too much, and we will talk a little bit more about that later. So, as you can see, this is on the official Brandon Sanderson website. There's a lot of links going around, and many of you probably have already taken this. If you haven't, like I said, check out the links down below. You'll be able to go through the quiz yourself, and I'd love to hear your results in the description, in the comments below. Just kind of what you thought of the quiz in particular. I have not looked at it. I simply made sure I had like the site, and I'm making sure that I am here and everything so that I can take it. I have no clue what it's about, so you're getting an initial reaction, and we're going to see what results I get. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on the matter. So, great website. They've been doing a lot of updates to it. It's looking good, and look at that, Stormlight 4 and 5 outlining. They're hashing out the details, getting ready for the first arc of Stormlight to be finished. I'm guessing we'll have the book 5 in the next couple of years. Mistborn screenplay, that's an exciting one as well. And Stormlight 4, which is Rythem of War, pretty much ready. I think the 5th draft is the final draft. Like, we're getting ready for publication then. Anyway, the official Knights Radiant Order quiz. The fate of Roshar hangs in the balance. Once again, the Radiant Spren seek to bond with humankind. The Knights Radiant must stand again. Move the sliders toward the attribute you most identify with. The quiz will sort you into the order of Knights Radiant you would most likely belong to, along with the likelihood of you belonging to the other orders. This quiz will only take a few minutes. I'm guessing it's not super long if it's saying that. And another good thing too is remember, you got to be honest about yourself. If you're not honest, you're just going to get a skewed result. So knowing all the radiance in your mind can actually be a detriment, because if you have a favorite or two, you might try and bias yourself toward it. But I'm going to attempt to be as honest as I can, and we're going to see what I get. Whatever happens, happens. All right, so first question, hard on the sleeve or poker face? I would love to have a good poker face. I think when push comes to shove, I can kind of do it, but guessing from the results of me attempting to pull the wool over people's eyes, I'm very much a hard on the sleeve kind of guy. I'll put it at 85 because I think I can like have a good poker face when I really feel like I have to, but most of the time I can't hide what I'm feeling, even if I kind of want to. Confident or needs reassurance? I like having reassurance. I wish I were more just like confident, and I can move with confidence, but I will be bubbling with doubt, and getting reassurance can help me quell like the voices of doubt in my mind. So I like reassurance, but I can get by without it. Cautious or daring? Definitely on the cautious side. I'm a planner. I like to think things through before acting. I can jump when I need to, and especially if I'm just goofing around. Like if I'm comfortable enough in a setting, I'm more likely to be more spontaneous. But like if I'm approaching a dangerous situation, I'd be very, very cautious. It could be frustrating. All right, now the library, the dojo. I'm guessing that's where you'd want to be. Like, are you more physically like inclined, or the more like the reading and pondering kind? I'm definitely down for the reading, but I'm gonna take this down maybe to 70. By doing things, I learn faster. Like I love. Oh, actually, maybe that's a good point. I like the library, and I'm a more quiet, down to earth person. But if I'm going to be honest about how I learn, I actually think the dojo is a bit of a better fit. So maybe we'll scooch this down to 65 because that's a bit more closer to the middle, but I would probably learn faster in a dojo than I would in a library, which is good because I tend to learn okay in a library. Now, wolf pack or lone wolf? Interesting. I like working with people. I like playing games, solving puzzles. I like having at least one other person with me, but all through my life and all through school especially, I ended up being much more of a lone wolf. I honestly get frustrated when I have to deal with relying on others, when I have had so many examples of times where they either let me down or just disappoint me when push comes to shove. So I tend to try and strike it out alone unless I know I don't need to trust anyone with something very important. Peacemaker or firebrand? I'm definitely a peacemaker. Like, very sharply. I would much rather talk my way out of a situation than have to fight. And I'm not likely to get aggressive, but I can be passionate, but I'm not likely to cause a fight or push it too far. Spiritual or skeptical? Skeptic. I mean, I grew up with spiritualism in my life, but at the same time, I think I'm overly skeptical of everything. I think I need to see. I like seeing data. I like seeing proofs. I like having experience with something, and it's frustrating even being on Facebook because there's so much just misinformation there, and it just frustrates me to no end when people share stuff without like considering like the sources. Leader or facilitator? Ooh, interesting. I'm often pushed into leadership roles, and I definitely do a good job. But if I got to pick, I like the idea of a facilitator. I like being someone who's in charge, but I don't want to be the person in the top part. I like being somewhere close to the top, just because I like being able to kind of give orders and have jurisdiction, but I don't want to have jurisdiction over everything. I prefer to have a specialization. So I'm going to shift this just a little to facilitator because I think I'm more comfortable there, but I also know that I can take charge and delegate when I need to, and I've got a lot of good ideas about doing such. Granted, I've never been a boss of mine, so I'm not sure, but I believe that represents me well. Guard dog or alley cat? I have no idea what you're trying to say about this one. Maybe the approach. Maybe do you like being like large and in charge, or maybe more sly and observant? And if I'm going to take that interpretation, then an alley cat for sure. 95, because I'm not entirely confident I know what this is asking. Compassionate or dispassionate? I can try and be dispassionate, but I'm ultimately compassionate. Heart or head? Oh, very much head. I distrust my heart. I will follow it, but it'll really bug me. My head, however, I tend to trust. Flamboyant or reserved? I wish I were more flamboyant. You'd think if I had a YouTube channel, I would qualify as flamboyant, considering I just throw my face out in the world, but I'm more reserved. I'm not great at like just playing up a role of my own. I like to think I'm getting better at role as playing a character and such, and I can do D&D and stuff and I can do DMs, controlling the game and telling a story. but I also still think I'm fairly reserved. Letter of the law, spirit of the law. I honestly think I'm a 50-50 here, because I think that it's important that you word the law properly, and that it's important to be able to interpret it and like make sure that you know, like you can't just twist the law to fit your needs all the time. I think it needs to be rigid. But I also think it's important to understand the context of the law, like why it's put in place and why it was there, because without that, you can start to twist the law either way. That's what the thing. So like I'm going to leave it here at 50-50, because I think that unless you understand both and balance them both, you're not going to be able to comprehend the law as it should be. Free-spirited or disciplined? Disciplined. Absolutely. Regulating myself, setting myself schedules, setting goals, and achieving said goals is the way and path to success. It always has been for me, and it always will be. I respect people who can get stuff done while being free-spirited, but I think it's a little too chaotic. And while I do enjoy kind of like winging things, for instance, if I'm taking a trip across the country, I don't like to plan where I'm going to put my head down at a hotel. I tend to like to see where we're going, and then once we're getting towards the end and we have a good idea of when we want to stop, that's when we find a place to stay. A little risky there, but it allows me to make adaptations on a trip, and I think that that's important. Obedient or rebellious? Ooh, okay. I think I tend to be more obedient, but I have a streak of where if I don't think that the system that I'm following is correct or has major flaws, I'm absolutely willing and believe it's kind of a duty to be willing to step beyond the law in order to do it. But again, like I have respect for the law. The law is there for a reason. It's set up the way it is for a reason. So I'm natural inclination is to be obedient unless I believe I have to be otherwise. Creative or conventional? I definitely see myself as creative. Like I said, I love D&D. I like writing stories. I like creating things. I like it to be realistic. That's one of the reasons why I love Brandon Sanderson. I love how his stories, they have consistent hard magic systems, which is my favorite kind. I like the idea of playing with rules that are set in stone and then using creative applications to make these really cool things happen, rather than the more, you know, wishy-washy versions of magic you see in like Lord of the Rings. I mean, Lord of the Rings is fine, but I hate how magic is just like, ooh, stuff happens. Like there's no real explanation. You don't really know what Gandalf, for instance, is capable of, because all you see are just cool stuff he pulls off. It makes magic feel more like a MacGuffin, you know, like a Marcus, what's the Ghost of the Machine, God of the Machine, gosh, I know the phrase. I'm just brain farting it here. I'm just sound like a fool. Oh well, it'll come to me. But you know what I mean. The idea that like magic just fixes problems and becomes band-aids to fix plot. I don't like that. I like it when it's incorporated and accounted for by both sides. Dependable or flexible? I think you need a healthy level of both, but dependability is what I value more. So I'm going to tick this 68. Let's go 68. I've been doing round numbers too much. Dependable, I think, is far more important than being flexible. I'd rather have a schedule that is kept than have too much leeway and not enough reliability. But I think you need to make sure you have some. If you're too rigid, you're liable to get caught up in mistakes, and you're liable to also be taken advantage of. Down to earth, head in the clouds. Well, head's in the clouds. I'm always daydreaming. I often have to be brought back to reality because my mind just goes away. All right, so think outside the box or color inside the lines. Oh, this is actually a challenging one. I actually have to say I kind of am the color inside the lines person. I wish I weren't. This is one of my personal flaws, I think, because I consider myself such a creative individual, and yet I do have trouble being truly innovative, because when something works, I tend to just stick with it. I'm willing to experiment, and I love to experiment, especially when others make suggestions, but left on my own and my own instincts, I tend to follow a natural philosophy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Tense or relaxed? I wish I were more relaxed, but I tend to be more tense. This is the way I am. Decisive or indecisive? I think I'm pretty decisive. I can be wishy-washy, but I usually make a choice, and once I make the choice, I'm committed. And I've learned over time how to make choices more quickly. As you've probably seen here, I'm definitely seeing each side of each argument, but I make my choice and move on pretty well. Likes change or like stability? I actually like stability. Change can be good, but I like predictable change. I like change that's planned and accounted for. And I tend to make plans for most things, and I tend to plan for things to go wrong and make backup plans. So I like stability. It brings me peace in my life. And I like to make sure my world is as in control as necessary. And part of control is being able to be flexible, but appropriately. Planner, oh, fetch, man. I mean, I'm so much a planner. I like spontaneity and I highly respect it, but at the same time, it drives me crazy. So, cool, awesome if you're spontaneous, but it's just not me. And the end justifies the means or honorable actions at all times. They're both important, and I believe you can and should have both, but I honestly think I'm lawful evil in a lot of ways because I have a lot of compassion and caring for people, but I also do believe ultimately that most of the time, if the ends justify the means, sometimes somebody has to do something terrible in order to make the world a better place. And I hate that because I don't think anyone should make that choice, but sometimes you have to. I mean, it's an important sign of leadership. A great example of that I love in the Well of Ages, Well of Ascension. What am I saying? Well of Ages, Well of Ascension. Tyndall's Lessons with Elend. If you haven't read it, I'm not really spoiling much. Just make sure you read the book. Dang it, Mistborn series are my favorite. And Tyndall does a great job of explaining how, especially someone who's a leader, needs to approach problems with that way. Because the other side to this that's important is being able to accept the consequences and take on the blame. If you are going to take the approach that the ends justify the means, like Yasna, you have to also be accountable to the actions and results of your choices. If you make a choice and it backfires, you take full responsibility and you don't try and pass it off or blame other people for it. When things go well, take responsibility, but do so humbly. When things go wrong, you are the one who made the wrong choice and it is you who is to blame, and you must accept that fact. Even if it's something you could never have controlled, it's your duty to let people have a place to push their anger. It sucks, but that's kind of what a leader needs to be. Playful or serious? I wish I were more playful, but I'm definitely more serious. Tells the truth or bends the truth? Oh, man, I'm going to out myself as a bad person. I make the truth dance. I tend not to lie, at all. But I can definitely misappropriate the truth and get people to see things a different way than they might if they had all the information. Alright, this is an interesting one. I like learning how things are, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I literally said that. I have to go with it. But I like understanding why things don't break, if that makes sense. So I have no problem examining how things work, but I hate, breaking stuff. Hotel or camping? Ooh, honestly, it's hotel. I like camping. I'm actually planning on going camping here pretty soon, but I don't enjoy it nearly as much as I enjoy hotels. Ooh, fencing or boxing? Definitely. Actually, it's probably 100%. I think boxing, if anything, is a little too much. I feel like it's a little too confrontational. People get genuinely damaged, brain damage, broken nose, broken jaw. I guess that means the stakes are higher, but my gosh, I'm not a fan of watching it. I hate thinking about going through it. And besides the physical exercise of boxing with a sandbag, I think fencing would be a lot more interesting to watch. Artistic and scientific. It's funny because I'm definitely between these two, 90% scientific. I'm studying science. I'm going to have a job in science for the rest of my life. I'm married a scientist. But I also am artistic. I do see myself as creative. But if I picked one of the two, I'm a creative scientist, not a scientific artist. Book smart, street smart. I have not lived on the street long enough to be street smart. I am book smart. That's the only smart I am, and that's still questionable. Paladin or rogue? Absolutely. I think I have respect for paladins, but if I pick between the two, I'm playing a rogue every time. Competitive or casual? I'm definitely casual. I get competitive, but only for the fun of it. If people are getting way too intense, it drives me away. I used to play Warhammer 40k, the tabletop combat simulator game, with friends, and people would get so into it, we would all be emotional to the point where because it gets frustrating and intense because you really want to win, and some of us would come away shaking. We weren't mad at each other, but emotions would run so high for such a long time. I kind of stopped playing because it was too much for me. Now, transparency or need to know? Ooh, I think transparency is important, but I would argue if somebody like the president, there's information that is not suitable or safe to be shared with everybody. So I'm going to say, let's go 68. 68% need to know. Actually, I'm going to bump it up. Like, I completely understand that there are like some things that need to be transparent. And there are times when things that weren't transparent need to become transparent. The current situation we're seeing in the world, a testament to that. But I do believe that there are secrets that need to be kept, and that if those secrets were to get out, they would do far more harm than good. And here we are at the end. That didn't take too long. Oh wow, 20 minutes. That actually took a lot longer than I thought. Just me not shutting up as usual. So let's say the words. All right. Let's try. I know the word's right. All right. Right, I remember now. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination. All right. Oh, I'm a truth watcher. I will seek truth. You are a truth watcher, which gives you access to search binding powers of progression and regrowth, and illumination. Progression and regrowth allows you to heal organisms and alter their growth. Illumination allows you to create illusions. That actually sounds really fun. In D&D, my most recent character is an illusion-based wizard because I thought that would be a really fun way to apply magic in our game. The Truth Watchers are seen as reserved and quiet, mostly known as the most scholarly order of Knights Radiant. They tend to attract scientists primarily, but also scholars and thinkers of all types. This extends to some who might not normally be known as scholarly, but instead as someone reserved, often consumed in their own thoughts. In general, they tend to be reserved, particularly in person, though a small minority of Truth Watchers are greatly concerned with the actions of the powerful and might be likened to investigative reporters. Ooh. They also make these make their opinions known loudly and forcefully, particularly if there is someone in power that is abusing that power or lying about fundamental truths. Ooh, yeah, I can get pretty vocal. Note that, like all Knights Radiant, there is a great disagreement within the Order about what is the truth. However, Truth Watchers tend to approach these discussions with enthusiasm, even if they generally prefer to write their opinions rather than speak them. Among the Knights Radiant, the Truth Watchers tend to be those who hold the knowledge and secrets of surge binding, and are the ones to discover many of the new advancements in things like Fabrial technology. Ooh, I wonder if Navani is going to be a Truth Watcher. I'm kind of hoping that unless like almost everybody becomes a Knight Radiant in the end, that they keep letting normal people be major players of import amongst like I think normal people that are heroic are really impressive and interesting. And so I would be worried if Sanderson makes too many people bonded, but I also could see like things getting so bad that like everyone needs to bond. Let's see. Read more about Truth Watchers here. If that order doesn't fit you quite as you expected, read more about each order at this link and pick your favorite. I like how that's like, this is just for fun. Alright, so according to the quiz though, this is my interesting. This is really going to be interesting. I'm just going to flip some people for on their head based on what I've heard from others. So Truth Watcher 70%, Else Caller 64%. I'm actually not too surprised by that. Windrunner, I'm surprised is in number 3. I like the ideas and the ideals of Windrunners, but I've always thought that personally I would make a terrible Windrunner and I would be too stressed out to actually do their job. Mostly is pretty good. I've always thought Will Shaper would be higher, but I also guess that they're a lot more spontaneous and I'm not. And then Bondsmith. Last time I took this, I got the result of Bondsmith, and I had a few friends of mine who are big into Sanderson who both claimed that they thought I was absolutely the Bondsmith of our group. But based on the synopsis I've just read, which remember is overseen by Trump, what am I saying? Oh my gosh. I don't know what to overcome me. I'm losing my mind. Sanderson, Brandon has gone over this, outlined this, and helped put it together. And so I'm a lot more inclined to say that Truth Watcher is most likely what fits me best. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. Hope this wasn't too long of a sit for you, and hope you didn't mind the boringness. I bet you a lot of you skipped to the end. But before you go away real quick, again, Letters from the Cosmere series is still going on my channel. I don't want to take those videos down. A lot of you know where to find them. But I've started to redirect everybody to the official channel. That way you don't get bogged down by posts that aren't Cosmere related. So please, link in the description, link in the tickets up above. You know, it's going to be appearing probably at the end of the video as well. Click the links to go to the Letters from the Cosmere official YouTube channel. It's a tiny channel because I'm just struggling to get the word out there. But if you want to see my Cosmere content, both what's currently on this channel and future Cosmere content, more Letters from the Cosmere, more theories and stuff, go to that channel. That's the channel to go to. That's the channel you're going to find it on, because it's going to be, and keep in mind, after Rythem of War comes out, I will do a list of things you might have missed. That's probably the most successful Cosmere video on my channel, is the top 6 things you might have missed in Oathbringer. I will do another one of those for Rythem of War, so keep an eye out for that, but it will be going on that channel. Because again, I want to separate the two, because the fandom for Cosmere is very passionate, and I doubt they're as interested in visual novels as I am. If you like all kinds of stories though, I highly encourage you to check out my channel. I cover story content, and I've been really hammered into visual novels because I feel like there is a medium of storytelling that most people don't seem to be aware of, and yet it's possibly the most impressive form of storytelling ever. If I were to summarize it in like 30 words or less, it has visual novels tend to have the musical scoring capabilities of movies, art that is beautiful to look at and enhances the story and narrative, and then dialogue, character development, and story length of novels. So in a way, you get the best of all the forms of entertainment. You get music and sound systems from movies, you get pictures from comics and manga, and you get storytelling and crafting and the scope of novels. And some of these, like literally, like I'm a super big fan of Brandon Sanderson, but there are several of these that have actually been on par with or surpassed my favorite Sanderson novels, like bar none. Want a good place to start if you find that intriguing and not, heretical, Steins Gate. I cover it on my channel. If you haven't watched the anime, play the game, buy the game, find it on sale, it'll happen, get the game, play it, watch my playthrough of it to hear my thoughts on it, but consume it. Like, that story is phenomenal, and the anime is great, but it has to cut out so much that you really should see for yourself. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here today. Remember, again, Letters from the Cosmere official YouTube channel. Go check it out. But otherwise, thank you so much for spending your time with me, and until the next video, watching me, happy to see me in next. I'll see you there.